meeting is called to order. This is a Town Council public meeting for June 1st, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
John Foreman.
Present.
Julia Rivera.
Here.
Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen Sheben is absent. Richard Sharp.
Here.
Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
I am present. Rick Everly.
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
Start tonight with the presentation. Turn the floor over to Chief Bill Fisher. Presentation of commendations. Chief, floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, council members. Tonight was supposed to be an update on the electrical program. At least that's what I told Lieutenant Purcell. But tonight is a celebration. Tonight is a night of giving thanks. For over 70 years combined, Lieutenant Robert Purcell and Administrative Assistant Darlene Sun have been a staple to the town of Cedar Lake and the Cedar Lake Police Department. Tonight we celebrate these years of unwavering service. Prior to 1985, Lieutenant Robert Purcell worked as an EMT and in civil defense. On March 18, 1985, the police department hired Lieutenant Purcell as a patrolman. Through the years, Lieutenant Purcell worked as a patrolman, working all of the shifts. In the mid-1990s, the police department began to change, like the rest of the world, and Chief Cowder tasked Lieutenant Purcell to bring us up to date. Prior to this, officers wrote all their reports by hand. When the department realized that everything was going computerized, Lieutenant Purcell wrote a program called Q&A. Now, this program would appear to be dated if you observed it in today's standards, but back then it was the best thing since sliced bread. No more completing daily activity reports by hand or looking for individuals' information on a file cabinet card system. Then in the late 1990s, we moved into a better programming system to which we purchased Expediter. Now, none of us knew how this program worked, but Lieutenant Purcell took the time to go through each step with the officers to ensure that we would complete every report and making sure we knew when we did something wrong. Then in the early 2000s, Chief Cowder was approached by Lake County Sheriff and asked if we could install their system on our computers so the Lake County officers could come to our station and complete their reports rather than going back to the county building. In comes Spillman. This programming was completely different than any other system that we had used before, but it was important because every department in county would eventually be using this system, allowing us to communicate together. Lieutenant Purcell became a resident expert in Spillman, making sure that any problems we had, he could correct immediately. This led him to becoming one of the first members of the Lake County Spillman Board and eventually the president of the board. Besides computers, Lieutenant Purcell has been instrumental in training for nearly every officer that has started here since he began. Lieutenant Purcell was a certified field training officer, an instructor, a certified reconstructionist, a photogrammetry expert, just to name a few. Lieutenant Purcell designed and implemented the very first pre-basic training for the reserve program that we still utilize today. Beyond training, Lieutenant Purcell has had nearly every rank within the department. I would say that the position that he held the longest, though, was that of a squad leader. Now let me tell you all, I was part of his squad, and it was not all cookies and cream. And his family may understand this, and as his former squad members would also, but Lieutenant Purcell was pretty stubborn at times. It was a rare occasion that you could prove him wrong. But if you did, he would change the subject. All of us knew one thing, though. Lieutenant Purcell would always be straightforward with you and always be fair. No matter who the officer was, he was always fair to each and every one of us, ensuring that he was looking out for the best interest of the department and the officer at the same time. Lieutenant Robert Purcell, you will be missed throughout the department, and we wanted to make sure that you know how much we appreciate you and that you have done for us. So today I present Lieutenant Robert Purcell with this plaque for his 36 years of dedicated service to the town of Cedar Lake.
Wanna talk about Eskimo?
Most of his family's here too, and we tried to keep it a secret, but it didn't work out.
Hey, Bob.
Want to say a few words?
Come on, I think Liz is gonna be glad to have you join retirement with us.
In his ranks now.
Yeah.
In 1986, a young woman whose husband was on the fire department was hired by the police department as a dispatcher. The stories of her midnight shifts are epic, and I bear not repeating them today. Darlene's son has been a member of the Cedar Lake Police Department for 35 years,
Wow.
dedicating most of her life to us strapping young officers and the citizens of Cedar Lake. In 1994, Darlene was given the opportunity to move from dispatching to administrative assistant to the chief of police. She started out working for Chief Jim Hunley and quickly moved to Chief Cowder when he was promoted in 1995 to the chief position. There she became our mom. Within the police department, watching the town and the department grow larger each and every year. Since she became an administrative assistant, Darlene took on all civilian staff, ensuring that the schedules were maintained, payroll completed, assisting the citizens at the window. Darlene was instrumental in designing the floats that we use, you see around town for the parades to show off the department. Look at me like that. The one thing that everybody would say about Darlene though was that she never missed a birthday, an anniversary, or a celebration of any one of us. She always knew. Through all the chiefs that she has worked for, which by the way was 7 police chiefs, she always said that I was her favorite. Always. Okay, that might not be true. But she has been the perfect assistant to each one of us and would always let us know when we were doing something wrong. She has been a staple to our department for many years, and she will be missed by all of us. Today, again, I present Darlene for the second time, because we did this once before, with this plaque for 35 years of service to the citizens of the town of Cedar Lake.
I might take it away from you out in the park.
We'll squeeze in there.
One last thing for you. The last acknowledgement is not for retirement or a special incident that took place, but for a quick dedication to each department within the town. In August of last year, through great strides, we were able to convince Cliff Rowe, who has no idea I'm doing this right now, to come aboard with the town and help us navigate the future. To better explain what I mean by this, I'm going to read a letter that Rick and I received about Cliff. Cliff Rowe has been a dispatcher reserve officer, and in August of 2020 hired full-time as an IT director. I had the pleasure of first meeting Cliff Rowe in November of 2018 when I hired to provide me with assistance in setting up my voicemail. Rowe is extremely knowledgeable in the IT field and makes it all look super easy to those that are technologically intimidated. Whenever the ladies in the town hall had computer issues, phone issues, or strange anomalies, we would email or call Cliff, and he was like a genie after rubbing the magic lamp who magically and promptly appeared. No matter how large or small the issue, Cliff always keeps calm and peaceful presence and reassures you that there is little that cannot be fixed, not to mention him having the patience of a saint and displaying extreme professionalism in everything he does. Many of the women in the town hall would be on board with me in singing his praises to provide multiple examples of his countless number of times he has provided assistance. Rose shows exceptional quality of his work in being extremely thorough, accurate, and precise, while assisting me on multiple occasions, including such projects as the website update, PDF forms, DARE certificates. When something was even slightly askew, Rose would alter it and make it look better, or perfect. His attention to even the slightest detail shines through everything he touches. Roe's attention to detail appears in not only large projects and everyday items, but also the little things he does without even blinking an eye. Steve Nemeth mentioned that the door to the dispatch area was always having a lead shoved under the door, so Roe installed a drop-down door stand so that it would make it easier to maneuver. After countless trips to the public works staff, Kubiak and myself going to the clubhouse to adjust and monitor the thermostat fluctuations, Roe installed a Wi-Fi thermostat that had an app to control from our phones, both cost-effective and time-efficient. A light over the copier had been out in the police station, and Roe replaced the non-operational unit to provide better lighting in high-traffic locations. He's always willing to help and has spent countless hours at the fire station, police station, town hall, public works, making things better in just his short time. Roe listens to many complaints and concerns, takes into consideration the best setup or placement equipment, furnished phones, cameras, and more. In his MacGyver-like way, Cliff comes up with a way to fix even the strangest issues presented to him. Roe displays fiscal responsibility in looking for better pricing, cost savings, and the best item for the price availability. He also seeks out the most efficient way of performing tasks. If it requires a little bit of extra time in the beginning to set it up, a template or a process to make it easier and quicker later, Roe doesn't hesitate. I also feel like the council and staff have no idea how much time and effort this man puts into every single day. There are times that I've known him to come in at 4 a.m. to run wires or computer updates installations so as to not disrupt activities in the daily office routine. I've known him to spend many late hours staying for meetings to make sure everything is operational, whether in person or being available remotely to monitor numerous monthly Zoom meetings. Cliff is always available. Roe has come in on the weekends and painted the floor up with epoxy on the server room so as to not emit any fumes during regular work hours. Where many of the aspects of Cliff Roe does is part of his IT position, I want to recognize him for all the things he does above and beyond all that, including all the big and little things many people don't even know he does. The list could go on for volumes of the things that Cliff does. He quietly and diligently works in the background, making things better for all of us. One of the best qualities, he's extremely humble and never expects recognition. With all that being said, I would like to recognize Cliff Roe with this letter of appreciation in hopes that others too see the valued, miserable employee and friend he is. I think Chief Wilken wanted to say something also real quick.
One thing about Cliff is you never know if he's listening. So be careful what you say. He'll always be there, you don't even know. So he is, he has helped our department, taking us into the next, millennium, basically. We had a lot of messed up stuff, and he just, I can't say anything else about him. Billy hit it all on the head, so.
And I announced that he was coming here before it was time, but he still came in.
Yeah, you did almost ruin that one.
Yeah.
So we got it. So, we're presenting this certificate of appreciation, for your unwavering support and dedication to employees and the citizens of the town of Clear Lake. You've gone above and beyond the scope of your job description, provide efficiency and reassurance in everything from large projects to daily operations, signed by the department heads of the entire town. So, thank you very much. Now that I've taken up your time, you can have it back.
Before I go to the full meeting, Mr. Purcell or Ms. Sund, would either of you like to address the audience?
You should. Come on, speak. Say
Just like, say I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. It's nice to see that you're appreciated a little bit. You know, we don't get a whole lot in this line of work, because I'm sure you guys all know in the back there now. But it's nice. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Purcell, I do have a question for you, Mr. Purcell. What are you going to do in retirement?
Retire.
You going fishing?
Proper
I
answer.
don't have any plans yet.
Yeah, well, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for service.
I stayed 35 years working for the police department, working for the town, and because in my family, there's a bet going on. Take care of your family.
Well, to those who've served our town so honorably, thank you, from the citizens of the town of Cedar Lake for your service. We can never replace you. 71 years of experience can never be replaced. We can only hope that we fill the shoes and walk the path that you've left for all of us. So thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for your service.
You got a good crew.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll see you, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. Very good. It's nice to start out with something so positive. We have public comment on agenda items. Public comment on agenda items. Third call for public comment on agenda items closed. Our consent agenda tonight is the claims, all town funds, $285,559.42. Wastewater operating, $181,344.87. Water utility, $58,016.31. Stormwater, $23,123.81. And payroll for May 7th, 2021, May 28th, 2021, $226,143.02. Is there a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
Mr. President, if I may, it looks like there was a typo, that payroll should be May 27th and May 28th.
Let the record reflect the correction on the payroll for the May 27th and 28th. Mr. Foreman made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Ordinances and resolutions. Item 1 is Resolution 1283, ambulance financing. Mr. Sharp, by its title, Ms. Sandberg, explanation.
Resolution number 1283, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a master equipment lease purchase agreement, the agreement for certain town vehicles and equipment and all related instruments and all other matters related thereto.
Thank you, Ms. Sandberg.
Council, this is to conclude the financing for the new ambulance that is scheduled, hopefully scheduled still for June 8th. We have all the documents in place. This resolution is to, continue with that master lease agreement we have. This is actually Schedule 2, underneath that master lease agreement. The first schedule was back in 2019 when we did those 3 police vehicles we purchased in 2019. So this is Schedule 2 to the master lease agreement for the 2021 Osage ambulance. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Upon approval, I have all the documents ready for signature to get it done.
Good.
Thank you.
What was the tax, the rate on there?
2 point, I'm sorry, I don't have it memorized. I placed it under all my other papers.
It was like 2 points. just below 2.4 if I recall from the last meeting.
Found it. Hang on, second page. 2.38%. You did have it right, thank you.
I thought that's what it was, I pulled the sheet up today, but I didn't bring it in.
Thanks for memorizing that.
Thank you very
Bob.
much. Is there a motion by the council to approve resolution number 1283, ambulance financing, as presented by the clerk treasurer?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Chief Wilkening?
The ambulance will be going to pick it up next week, and we'll be driving down to pick it up with the salesman. Salesman will drive it back. Once it gets here, we'll get it insured, get it in service as soon as possible. We'd like to have a dedication ceremony for it, and also bring it to the council and the public. Everybody can go through it and see it. We'll also have some at the fire station for the public as well, if anybody'd like to come. We will advertise that soon.
Thank you, Chief.
Very nice thing.
Very good.
As well.
Well, hopefully, we don't overuse it. You know, you never want to see too many people riding in it, but when it's needed, it's definitely good to have the modern equipment that, that ambulance has to save lives. So, great job of putting that together, and look forward to seeing it in service.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Item 2 is ordinance 1387, Beacon Point East PUD rezone. Mr. Sharp, by its title only, please. Mr. Everly.
Ordinance number 1387, an ordinance reclassifying certain lands in the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, for zoning purposes and amending ordinance number 496, being an ordinance replacing zoning ordinance number 278, entitled Cedar Lake, Indiana zoning ordinance, passed and adopted by the Board of Trustees of the town of Cedar Lake, Indiana, and all amendments passed subsequent thereto, repealing zoning ordinance number 278. All amendments thereto and all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, establishing new comprehensive zoning regulations for the town of Cedar Lake and providing for the administration, enforcement, and amendment thereof in accordance with the provisions of the Indiana state statutes. Passed by the town council of the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, the 13th day of December, 1989, and all amendments passed subsequent thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Mr. Everly?
Mr. President, this comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission for this rezoning. And, as you know, all rezonings wind up, in the lap of the town council to make final decisions.
Thank you. We have a favorable recommendation. Mr. Austin?
Single reading for this,
Thank you.
and this is an amendment to a previous, PUD for this parcel, based upon some additional land and additional development.
Okay.
Incorporated that.
Recommendation from the Plan Commission for favorable. Is there a motion by the council to adopt ordinance 1387?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. BZA Plan Commission, item 1 is Beacon Point East PUD contract expansion of proposed phase 3. Mr. Eberly, then Mr. Austin.
And, Mr. President, this goes along with the previous item. This is simply the, contract amendment for the PUD rezone that you just adopted.
Thank you.
This will be appended to the ordinance if, approved.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council on the Beacon Point East PUD contract?
I'd like to make a motion for the Beacon Point East PUD contract for approval, for this expansion of the proposed Phase 3. And I just wanted to add for the public that is here today, that, these lots were acquired, near the second entrance for the subdivision, and they were previously, multifamily, so, it's going to be a similar type of homes that they have on the other side of it. So that's all. Single family, correct.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Foreman for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 2, Beacon Point West of Cedar Lake, Unit 5, Performance Letter of Credit. Mr. Everly.
town engineer has looked over this, letter of credit and determined that the amount is sufficient at $259,330.23. As a performance letter of credit for your fellow.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council to approve the performance letter of credit as presented?
I'd again like to make a approval for, this item, Beacon Point West, Cedar Lake Unit 5, performance letter of credit based on recommendations from the town engineer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Miller, first by Mr. Foreman. Questions or discussion?
Again, I'd just like to add that performance letter of credit for those in the audience is basically making the person who, in this case is the developer, say what they do and do what they say. So, if they don't, then that gives us the ability to pull on that performance letter of credit to finish the project, which we've had to do, on a few projects in the last decade. So, that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 3 is Hen 13212 Wicker Avenue Performance Letter of Credit. Mr. Everly.
Mr. President, same situation here. You have a recommendation from the town engineer having reviewed the project and the letter of credit, the amount of letter of credit is sufficient to cover what's left to be done in this project as well. That's $9,548.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council to approve the performance letter of credit for 13212 Wicker?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 4 is Hanover Community School Corporation Performance Letter of Credit. Again, Mr. Everly.
We're in the same situation here, Mr. President. The amount of this letter of credit is $373,557.25, comes with the recommendation of the town engineer.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council to approve a Hanover Community School Corporation Performance Letter of Credit?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman.
Second. Bob beat me to the punch.
Okay, motion by Mr. Carnahan, second by Mr. Foreman. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. New business, item 1 is preliminary annexation discussion. This is, not a decision item, discussion item 12416 Wicker Avenue, Rory Ravens. Rory, if you wanna come up and kinda introduce what you're planning on and what your ideas are.
Basically, the property to the northwest, which Dick Hen owned, basically, we have a contract or a deal in place. I put a contingent on being able to annex the property and get B3 zoned, so that we can continue the same business that we're doing right now. That Dick's given me till June 30th on that, or he could go another way. I'm hesitant to buy until I know for sure, that I can do what I need and want to do. Our thoughts in the preliminary stages would be put as big a building as I can, hopefully up to about a 10,000 square foot building. Not sure the property's gonna allow that. Gonna follow your guys' recommendations to get, I can't remember the name of the group, EUD.
BZA.
What's that?
Probably the BZA. Is that what you're?
No, the
Engineering
PUD?
group?
yeah, the engineering group that you had recommended.
Oh, DVG?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just having them take a look at the piece of property and help us lay that out. There is a lot of working parts on it.
They know all of our requirements very well.
Yeah, so, that's the long-term plan, is to be able to do that, but like I say, I'm hesitant to do anything.
What's it currently zoned in the county, Rory?
It's actually B1, Mr. President. I did look at that. I had originally thought it was B2 in the county, but it's actually B1 right there.
So B3 is a pretty broad zoning district, correct?
It's our most broad.
Short of industrial.
So
It's the most.
typically, if a property is in the county zoned B1 and it's annexed into the town, what does that process look like typically?
Agricultural zoning.
Goes to agricultural, and then what would the petitioner have to do then for the rezone.
Become annexed, and upon annexation being effective, apply for a zone change.
So what would that zone change, so you got 90 days on the annexation,
Yes.
and then what would the zone change look like from a
Well-
procedural standpoint?
It ought to be ready, because that's the game plan for which the parcel's proposed to be used. And I would think another 30 days, meeting of the plan commission, public hearing, certification to the council, and adoption or consideration of adoption of the zone, a single reading zoning ordinance. About 120 days.
I personally am of the opinion that that whole US 41 corridor, should be B3. It just seems logical, from a, our B3 is pretty restrictive. It's
Not really.
It's not, there's not anything that could harm the town in our B3. It's maybe automotive repair, tire shops, things like that fall into B3. But it's not like light industrial. It's not so when looking through the list of, over the years of B3, that sort of thing really does belong on a 41 highway as opposed to,
Now, the other
per
option,
se, on 133rd.
the other option the council would have would be, if he petitioned annexation, would be, we could possibly grant that zoning upon approval of the annexation, is that correct?
I think our ordinance requires it at open space, doesn't it, or agriculture, Rick?
The ordinance says that it comes in as agricultural at the time of annexation, yes. But it's my understanding that the option, at the option of the council, you can rezone it at the time of annexation.
So a concern that I got from, one of our plan commissioners about rezoning before there's a plan in front of the plan commission is that that land could then be flipped. If you decided, you know what, I'm not gonna build, it's got more value for me to sell it, now it's got the B3 zoning to it with no plan attached. So that's kind of the heartburn that the plan commission might have, although they don't consider the annexation, they would be considering your plat for your project, is if we're approving a very loose zoning district before there's a project in place, it's leaving the door wide open to really anything to happen. And I'm sure your word is good, but it's one of those things where if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And that's something that Mr. Austin taught me a long time ago, that things have to be in writing for it to mean something, so,
So, President,
Yeah.
speaking of in writing, it's really coincidental that Mr. Ravens is here tonight. On Thursday, we are, meeting in the steering committee of the comprehensive plan update
right?
for the Route 41 corridor. I know that the members of that steering committee have received the draft document and are looking at it. By June 30th, when you hold your public hearing, that'll be finalized, and there'll be a public hearing of the plan commission after the committee makes a recommendation. And you'll be looking at what is proposed and contemplated by way of development of the Route 41 corridor, or the vision statement, if you will. So we're right on the cusp of having that information to aid and guide these types of things, number one. Number two, and you're absolutely right, I think Mr. Ravens is probably a very credible gentleman, and I don't know you at all, but from you coming here, but you've been calm, composed, and collected at all times. But it doesn't mean that 60 days from now, Mr. Ravens isn't in the picture, and a current owner or a future prospective owner is, and you do not have any control of zoning if you give it up, as Rick indicated was one of the considerations, if you will, by eliminating the planning process. It becomes contractual, if you will, at that point.
I would be in favor of some type of a memorandum of understanding that if you petition us for this annexation under a B3 zoning, that you're going to follow through on that planning process as soon as possible to get in front of the plan commission, so we're not necessarily leaving an open end to this thing mentioned, because part of what we talked about in that comp plan steering committee is exactly this. 41 is the kind of welcome mat to Cedar Lake. Your business has been hugely successful, and I think there's a lot of folks that are employed here in Cedar Lake by you. You write a lot of paychecks. And so you're really important in this community, and we want to support what you're doing, but we also want to make sure that we're looking out for future projects that have yet to come, to make sure that the process is clean and that rezoning takes place with the proper due process for all the citizens to be able to have their say in the process as well, because doing this kind of takes the BZA and the Plan Commission out of that part of it, which that portion of it gives the citizens a chance to remonstrate against and have the public hearing and things like that. There'll still be a public hearing for annexation where they could still come and remonstrate, but it's different when it's part of the planning process rather than part of the annexation process. So is a memorandum of understanding even something that could help us in this situation?
I don't know how to enforce it. I don't know what the contract remedy, it's a form of a contract.
Right.
And the question about that contract is not the offer and the acceptance, but it's the consideration component. And what do you do to Mr. Ravens if he, fails? Let's say, you walk, you decide 3 weeks into it, 2 months into it, your engineers are costing
Right.
too much, you don't like the town, whatever the reason is.
What's your time frame on this, Rory?
I'm not in a hurry to put the building up. I'm more, secure in our future. My feeling right now is I would love to put the building up next year, but cost of buildings has gone up 35%.
Well, hopefully by next year, that's calmed down a little.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And, a year from now, maybe that does settle down. I don't have a crystal ball for that, so I'm not gonna.
I like that you're here right now, because I have the feeling that all of us that sit up here, and I can't speak for everyone, but everybody's supportive of a local business like yours. And, you live here in town, and, you're invested in the community, and, I think it'd be a really good idea to get that engineer at least retained preliminarily and have him sit down with the town engineer and the town manager and the planning director and get kind of a big scope together, right?
I have no problem doing that, because that's really what I need to find out. I want to do all of that. My biggest issue is, how do I close on this thing, or not? Because,
Well,
Dick, he gave the timeline, so, the ball's kind of in his court, and I don't blame him.
let's get the thoughts of council members here, so you can give some feedback to Rory so he can make his decision on closing, although
Well,
we can't
again,
commit to annexation
if I'm not
tonight.
mistaken, you had a gentleman who was a butcher in your west end of your existing building, because you needed to expand, and probably a butcher would be a B3 zone, is that correct, Mr. Eberly?
If not B2.
Okay. So, for example, even if he does a B3 building there, and even if in 5 or 10 years he outgrows that and he sells that whole complex to another organization that might be B3, I think if you look through our comprehensive plan and or our zoning ordinance, the B3s aren't that harsh. There's not anything there that would be, it's not like, there's gonna be anything provocative or anything, inappropriate that could be built along the US 41 corridor. It's perfect for B3. And if there are things in the B3 ordinance that should be striked because of that subject matter, that's a subject different from what he's asking for, to make his complex for his organization B3. That's my
You're in
thought.
that process now, you're revising the zoning work.
That's right.
There are uses in the B3 district you're uncomfortable with, now is the time. to
Now
strike
is the
those.
time. And I don't think we have anything that,
The
is
comprehensive
uncomfortable.
plan is simply going to say where land usage should occur. The comprehensive plan doesn't rezone the property. It's gonna say, this area should be commercial, this area should be light industrial, this area should be,
retail.
residential, those types of things. It doesn't zone it. I think John's right, and the point he made was, if you're gonna consider this parcel for B3, you have to decide among yourselves if you think B3 is the right zoning designation for that property, irrespective of what Mr. Ravens would bring to it, because once it's zoned B3, 5 years from now, he decides to move his business someplace and he sells it, any B3 use can go in that property. So your decision is not really whether you think his business is okay there, whether you think any of the businesses allowed in B3. If you're comfortable with that, then the rezoning should go through.
but it's really a question of whether you think B3 is appropriate on Route 41 or not. And in my opinion, if we don't do B3 on Route 41, we shouldn't have B3. Because we're not gonna do B3 on Lakeshore Drive, we're not gonna do it on Morse. Typically, we're gonna do B1s and B2s where we downscale the uses. So it doesn't get any more B3 in our town than Route 41.
I would agree.
Yeah, and if Rory builds a good building, you know, even if at some point he does move his business or decide to sell to somebody and retires, a building like that is not going to have a whole lot of different uses other than for this kind of transportation distribution center that you're really operating out of and building. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's just, I mean, I would support the annexation. I don't know yet about the process. I mean, if it's 120 days compared to 90 days and you're not gonna build till next year, even if it went back to agriculture and then to B3, it's still not gonna hold up your project.
For me, it's just having that commitment.
Security.
That I'm gonna get what I mean, I don't wanna go buy this thing and not be able to do what I need to do.
And Mr. President, if I could just, kind of correct one thing that was said earlier, it takes the plan commission out of the process in terms of the zoning.
Right.
But not in terms of the plating and the planning and those things, and it doesn't take the BZA out of it at all. If it winds up needing to go before the BZA for some reason, then your zoning at the time of annexation does not take the BZA out of the equation. If that has to happen, that would happen.
Gotcha. The council can't necessarily vote on annexation night because we don't have an annexation petition, but I mean, it's on the agenda, so I mean, in general, just people giving their input to Mr. Ravens, whether or not you would look to back him up on something like this and consider this favorably, so.
I support it.
Okay.
And remember, the rezonings wind up with you in any case, whether they go to the plan commission
Right.
and follow that process.
Right.
Ultimately, it's your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And I also, would support it, that, I believe keeping your business in town is in the best interest of the town.
And
I agree.
Go ahead, Jimmy, I'm sorry.
Okay, I agree with Ralph.
And I agree with everybody else with what they said up there. You've always been very professional and very courteous and always coming to these meetings and the planning commission meetings, and I admire that.
I think the best thing and the next step for you would be, I mean, obviously it's your business on how you close on property, but getting a engineer engaged, getting a meeting scheduled with staff right away. So that way everybody has a roadmap, right? I mean, I think that's important, is for you to have expectations, for the staff to be a part of the team with you to help you through this process. And I think you'll have a lot of luck with engaging a good engineer and even a good attorney to make sure that you have the right support through the process of annexation. But I think you hear from the group up here that we all want to see you succeed here and expand, and it would be exciting to see a new building along 41 with CL vending on it. I love seeing your trucks all over the place, so.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Seeing CL drive all over.
Bob, I never knew you left Cedar Lake, Bob.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really what I'm looking for, is just, a comfort zone moving forward. I mean, I know it's a long process and that,
But if you get started at it right away, then by, you know, when you're ready to build the building, you have all the foundation laid, and then it's just a matter of pulling the trigger. So if you start at it right now, it's gonna be a heck of a lot smoother when those building material prices come back down a little and you can erect a building. So look forward to seeing it, Rory. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we have another preliminary annexation discussion, parcel on 141st Avenue next to tracks by middle school, Mike Neubauer.
Just gonna hand this out real quick. Make it
Yeah.
a little easier for you.
Feel free.
Thank you. All
right, I'm really open-minded, just like his kid. But the first page, I'm not gonna go over a ton, but we own multiple properties, my company owns multiple properties in Cedar Lake. I'm a licensed general contractor based out of Cedar Lake here. Tim has seen quite a few of our projects recently. The last time we were up here, that second page is an example of some of our work. That's a house on 142nd Place. Actually, we redid it, my dad moved in, but it's an example of what, we were standing up here at the unsafe building committee, it had to get knocked down, we took over the property and turned it into a nice project.
No, it was
So-
coming down. You're right. If it was coming down,
It was, I
you
mean,
guys-
we were,
you guys saved
we were
it, yeah.
begging for
Yeah.
a week, because the
Yeah.
time we took it over, you know, we didn't really have any options,
Yeah.
so, but,
Yeah.
you know, you guys can see now, Tim can attest that, you know, we do what we say we're gonna do, and you can see what that house looked like
Yep.
before and what it looks like now. So now we're, have a property, similar situation, as Mr. Ravens, we have property under contract, it's zoned agriculture. It's kind of an awkward location, right next to the tracks, and back to the, subdivision there, right across the tracks from the middle school.
That's Rose Garden Estates, right?
Yeah, that's, the subdivision that's there. And you can see that green, triangle is the subject property. We have it under contract contingent for permission for, it's gonna be, what we would like to do is a self-storage type building, but it's gonna be slightly different than what's in town now. It's gonna be more of a higher end, facility, more climate control, and more push towards, you know, the needs of the people in these more higher density living areas. Something that's like putting something in their home closet, it's conditioned, it's heated, something just a little bit more upscale where they can store things that would normally be stored in their home. You can see on that next page is the property right now, that's an aerial view of the vacant land. It's kind of an awkward shape, it's got a small pond in the back and a low area in the middle. As you know, the properties in Cedar Lake are flying off the shelves. This property was listed for over a year. The one under contract once fell back out of contract. It's just kind of an awkward location right along the tracks there with an awkward topography. We did contract DVG Engineering. He gave Rick just a preliminary call to get an idea of what can be done there. And his suggestion, along with the town manager, was come talk with you guys first, because we're in a similar situation before we start putting the big dollars into attorneys and engineering, if it's something that you guys would consider on that location. The last two pages there, you can get an idea of what we're looking to do. Our main goal is to fit in with the town, fit in with the neighborhood there. We don't want this to look like self-storage. We don't want somebody to drive by and see self-storage. We want it, you know, as you can see on that final page, we really want it to look more like the homes look in Cedar Lake when you're driving by. There'll be one main entrance gate, but it'll be between two buildings that look like a home. And behind there, we have kind of a sloping topography, so you would not see anything from the street level. But that's kind of the overall, those last two pages, is an aerial view of the general plan. We're looking to give about 20 feet towards Rose Garden of just green space to extend the backyards of the townhomes that back up there. Everything would be privacy fence and or privacy building there, so they would have nothing there.
Does that help you square off a lot as well?
We're gonna work with, there's a low area there, we're gonna work with DVG to see what is the best way as far as stormwater retention in that area, along with, you know, squaring off that lot over there to make it, just make it more uniform, shape. There is a little bit of a jet out along the tracks as well, which has a little bit of an easement. But yeah, we're working with DVG because, and I think that's kind of the problem, it's an awkward topography. With 8 acres, there's not a lot you can do when you have awkward topography like that. So we're working with them to see, the nice thing about these buildings is we can adjust and move. We don't have to be, you know, like a residential neighborhood, perfect streets and perfect, you know, angles. We have a little bit more wiggle room as far as we can make a smaller building or a larger building.
This is, south of 141st and the east of the railroad track?
That's correct. Yep. So, and, you know, just some remarks I wanted to make. It's something that we're looking to do. We talked with the county. They said first go to Cedar Lake. We prefer Cedar Lake do it than it comes to here. It's something that has zero impact on the school system, little to no impact on the fire, police, EMS. It's something that, like I said, we're gonna make sure it's not an eyesore in the community. It's gonna look like it's 3D here, and yet transitioning from ag and bringing 8 acres of a business parcel into the town of Cedar Lake. So I'm just looking for some guidance and, want to answer any questions that you guys might have so we can move forward with our project and our contract. And,
Mike, you said entirely indoor storage, right?
I mean, that's up to discussion. That's our plan. Anything that would be, outdoor or even drive up outdoor, you know, so it's still contained and not seen, but it's drive up rather than climate control would be on the interior. So as you can see on the very first, or last page, that one that looks like a house, that's a general look of what the climate control will look like. So anything that would be not climate control, if that's what, maybe a building, we can't get climate control because of the engineering, that would be on the interior, on the aerial view, you can see kind of the interior, so everything would be blocked off by the climate control building.
So the first thing that comes to mind is, our plan commission is absolutely going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, when they get the plan. They're very meticulous on storage units and their impact on the neighbors. Because a lot of times there can be a lot of lighting that goes with it that could be, disturbing some of the, livability of certain neighborhoods. So those are things that you would have to look forward to.
Yeah.
Some very detailed questions. I think the use of the land, myself, my own opinion is, being that close to the tracks, it looks like a reasonable use. Again, the drainage is gonna be a question with where you're at, with that much asphalt. It's gonna take probably quite a bit of investment in some stormwater to meet our ordinance with that many rooftops and that much asphalt. So, but the use itself looks reasonable, and the concept looks like it's a pretty nice product. Again, this is just a discussion item.
Yeah,
so-
Randy's essentially spot on. Back behind Great Oaks, there's the most recent storage unit that we've had in our community. And they had to abide to some restrictions, some covenants as to what time they open in the morning, what time they close, to not distract the neighbors that are, 50 to 100 feet away. So I think, and that's kind of behind the Dodge dealer there off US 41, if you're not familiar. So that would be, we had some drainage challenges there, some sewer challenges there, some lighting challenges, as Randy had mentioned. So it's not that unusual. It is an awkward piece of property. God knows, with so many small cottage homes and townhomes and duplexes, that people don't have anywhere to store most things in their driveway, and covenants don't allow it, and HOAs, so it's a pretty good looking storage unit, in my opinion.
Ralph, any thoughts?
The design looks good.
So.
What about the use of the land right there, close to Rose Garden in the middle school?
I don't think, there's not a whole lot you can do with that piece of, that tract, that it's just, like you said, it's an odd-shaped piece of property, and 8 acres, you say?
8 acres,
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
backside,
it's,
about an acre of it's covered in kind of a lowland pond already, so it's really 7 is usable.
and like Randy said, there'll be a lot of questions before the planning commission, so.
I know a couple plan commissioners that will, run you through the questions.
But you guys did a great job with that house, that was incredible. Made the unsafe building department look good, so.
And again, this sort of thing is exactly what the comprehensive plan is for. This location, while being next to residential, may not be ideal in some eyes. It sure is better than on US 41.
Well,
I hate to see.
but it's also
even
better
though
than
we
having-
have a nice one on 41.
If the drainage is done up to town standards, it will also help to protect the neighborhood from possible flooding from some of those low areas where that was basically all field tiles for tillable acreage at one time.
Sure.
And when all that field tile is removed, it kind of changes the flow of water, and we've seen that before. So having instead of an 8 acre vacancy there where it could cause some inadvertent flooding onto that Rose Garden neighborhood, you'll have stormwater infrastructure in place to kind of create a little bit of a flooding buffer.
Yeah, but they're also giving up a lot of,
Yeah.
it's now a lot of non-pervious surface, so.
But it
goes both
also can create a bit of a sound barrier of the trains going by, having buildings there. So I think there's some positives there of your location and the land use, for sure. Julie?
I mean, I live in a subdivision right behind storage units, and it's never bothered any of my neighbors. We bought our house after the storage unit was there. There's no lighting problem, the lights are pretty low underneath the storage doors, and if you have a high enough fence, you won't even be able to see it from the houses. So I don't see anything else that could go next to train tracks that.
I agree, Julie.
I agree with that.
So that's kind of the polling of the room, is it seems that you have at least preliminary support.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's quite a process to go through.
Does anybody have any concerns as we start talking with the engineer and the attorney that you would have a concern right now that you haven't addressed, I would just kind of preliminarily knock that out with the attorney and engineer.
The biggest thing I would say is come to the, when you come in for the annexation petition, and then when you go in front of the plan commission, be prepared. Be prepared to talk about lighting, be prepared to talk about storm drainage.
Now, this, though, I would say, I sit on the plan commission, I would say,
Bob-
and from a council perspective.
John, Rick, and Bob all do, but there's also 4 citizen
I would
appointments.
probably, if our normal zoning for storage unit, Rick, is it B3?
B3, yeah.
I would be more apt to give you B2 special use, only because
It restricts it a little
it
more.
restricts it a little more,
Yeah.
so that we don't end up with something on the, that belongs on US 41 being here. I would like to keep it indefinitely, in perpetuity, a storage unit, as opposed to 20, 30 years from now, somebody buys it, bulldozes it, and puts up
Yeah.
Well,
one of the other things in the
let me-
B3
let
zone.
me clarify that, whether it's B2 or B3, that use needs a special exception.
Okay,
Yeah. So
Fair
either
enough.
way,
Okay.
if you wanted to be even more restrictive, more careful, you could go B1 with a use variant,
I see.
as a possibility.
Because it's somewhat of putting a B2 in a residential
Yeah,
area, right? So,
Or you can impose reasonable conditions that the plan commission can, and/or enter into a contractual commitment
a
that
P,
locks down use
right.
by recordation.
Yeah.
You got some tools in the bag.
So one of those things are gonna be probably
We don't
brought
have
up, I'll
any
just say
details.
that.
However, the details work out, that's fine.
yeah, it
We're not
looks,
against you succeeding and doing what you wanna do here. We're just,
looks like a solid idea, Mike, and great job with it, by the way, too. And it's good to have these discussions, ahead of time and give everybody a chance to work at this and work together and come prepared for the next steps.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
And I like this package.
yeah, good luck to you.
Yeah, yeah, very good job.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Well prepared. Item 3 is a discussion of American Legion Post 261, and this may actually be a decision item, so.
Robin, you wanna come up? She asked me, and I sent this to the town manager, and he put it on the agenda today.
Thank you very much. I'm Robin Johnson, I'm the auxiliary second vice with the American Legion, and I am the secretary for the Riders. And we were here a year ago about the rally that we were awarded, but due to COVID, it was canceled. Well, we are hosting the rally this year, June 17th through the 20th. Our state director had 1,000 rubber ducks donated, and we would like to do a duck race on the lake. I have sent a permit in to DNR because I was told the lake is DNR. We were talking about possibly doing it by the boat launch, but after speaking with John yesterday, a suggestion was made to do it off the pier here. And what our envision is to have John King with the boat, anchored in, low motor. We'll use pool noodles, they have the ducks in, people in the water, we, let them swirl around, open the gates in the winter, maybe take an hour top. But we thought we'd like to bring it here to make sure it's okay with you. I have an email from DNR saying I have to do a public notice in, the paper to get a permit from them and, a map. So since we haven't finalized the location, we wanted to know.
They were thinking about initially, folks, doing it down at the chamber, and I just thought, you know what, on a weekend, people putting boats in and out.
It's gonna be very
these-
busy.
These guys here, if there's 30 or 40 motorcyclists from other regions that are here in the morning for this event, what a perfect place.
What dates is that again?
It'd be Saturday, June 19th in the morning, around 9:30.
That would be the date of the race.
Yeah.
Okay. And what size are these rubber ducks?
They're just a little like bathtub rubber ducks. I mean,
Still tiny things.
yeah, so nothing big, and then once we're done, we'll scoop them all out and take them back.
Well, this is an appropriate location, in my opinion, for something like that, because we got a big parking lot here, and it can handle the people probably a little better than the roundabout in the chamber building, so I would
Yeah,
say,
we currently have 60 pre-registered bikers plus all of ours.
Cool.
We're probably looking between 100 and 150
Doesn't mean it's
people.
gonna be 60 individual bikes,
No, but
but we have 60 of them pre-registered.
Something tells me they're not gonna make the rubber duck contest, all of them.
Oh, hell.
Sorry about that.
They'll probably just be getting up. when-
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They might catch the band after lunch, but
Yeah.
that's, you know.
We have gone through, made a little list of rules for different town things that we know of. They have to shut down their generators and all that by 11 o'clock for noise ordinance. We're not gonna allow them on our grounds to have any personal bonfires, personal campfires around their campers or anything like that, just the ones we have, which is behind our garage in the middle of the property. Anybody that don't follow it, get out. That simple. Fireworks? No.
No, nothing.
No.
Nope. Not after.
No, I think it's good, if you, you know, I think you guys being flexible and coming here as opposed to, you know, over there, it'll just be safer for everybody.
Didn't wanna surprise anybody.
The folks coming through that roundabout, pulling out with bikes, it's just
Yeah.
accident waiting to happen. And we have out-of-towners coming here to dock boats, and the chamber girls and guys are out there trying to collect money, et cetera. What's up,
I
Mr.
just got
Steve?
one question, where do you plan on putting this boat to push the rubber duckies?
Well, that's what we have to look out the pier.
Probably over by Clear Lake Yacht Club, we probably push the rubber duckies in that way. I'm on
I just
the
hate to
board
put a
over.
boat right up against our brand new pier that we're installing.
No, she said, no, actually, I was thinking most people on the shore, Bill, but who
No,
knows?
wherever we would be at, we wouldn't be locking the boat up against the pier or anything, just a couple anchors in the front. And that's it, make sure they're wedged in, and as soon as Don just barely pops it in the gear, that's all he's doing.
Just a couple Harleys driving down the pier,
Circulate
Bill.
the water in one area.
Burn out.
Open up the noodles and funnel it
You have
down.
a flathead in the back of that or something.
I'm gonna get a fishing boat put in there,
Alright.
and we got the noodles.
We'll
Okay.
probably have a couple people in the water, you know, so.
Well, we can make our consideration
Super.
tonight of it, and then they've got a lot of work to do with the DNR and get all that stuff lined up, so.
Yeah, the permit's in, we just gotta do the public notice and send them
Sure.
a map, so this was the final.
They're not being very cooperative.
No, they're just following the rules.
No,
They're
it-
cooperative, they're just slow. They have.
Oh, no. She called them up today, and the lady told her, well, it's on the bottom of the permit list. Didn't you see it there? Click.
You
I
have
was
this,
trying to find out what I had to put in the
But
public
even on the
notice
bottom of the
exactly.
permit list, though, it doesn't tell you how long the public notice has to be.
sounds like we share a love for bureaucracies, you and I.
Oh, most definitely. That's why she deals with it. not me.
Good. Love that stuff. Okay, is there a motion by the council to, approve June 19th,
Motion to approve
Use of
June
the pier.
19th for the Legion to use the town grounds for an hour or two in the morning.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Carnahan. Is there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, 6-0, motion carries. Have fun with your rubber duckies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Mr. President, real quick before they sit down, if you guys have a chance to go over to the American Legion.
Oh, yes,
See the new
yes.
mural wall. Chief Wilkie and myself were over there with, Bob as an attendant yesterday. What an amazing job they did on that wall. See the cleaning was second to none, so.
Mark did a fantastic job.
Amazing job.
And then Judy Pig had a picture where they were in the window,
Oh, that's
That's us.
and you, that's fantastic
That's
today
what Mark
when I
actually
saw
wanted to do.
Facebook.
He wanted to get a hold of somebody recent military or whatever with recent helmets, because the way that the mural is done, the two windows that are on the side of the building are the windshield of a Hummer.
Yeah.
So you could actually bend down in the window, you could take the picture, look like they're in the Hummer.
And
So
he's
you did a
also gonna
fantastic
do
job.
one at the Eagles Nest.
Yes,
He's
yes,
gonna do a flag on the Eagles Hall.
yes.
Well, I appreciate seeing you guys here the day after Memorial Day, and, you know, there's a lot of people look at it as just a long weekend, but I think it's important for all of us to reflect and appreciate the sacrifices that have been made for so many years by so many brave people who have voluntarily and some involuntarily put on the uniform of the United States military. So thank you to all of you for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
It's our honor.
Yep, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Item 4 is pier sale funds allocation to Fund 807, non-reverting ecosystem restoration fund. Has the pier been sold and has the money been received?
It's been sold, Mr. President. Dan tells us that based on past history of the system that we use, it'll be several months before we get.
It'll be
the
a while
money.
before we see a check.
Chief, 8,500? sir?
$8,500.
$500 for that pier that we thought we might get 2,000 for.
Is there a motion by the council
Yes, I think you're right.
to allocate the funds of the pier sale, $8,500 to Fund 807?
Mr. President?
Yep.
If I may give an update on that real fast, I did reach out to SBOA to make sure that we could do that, and
Yeah, and Indy
They
500
took-
tickets, same thing.
they would take an audit position, because of the passage of time and the lack of documentation as it, in regards to that original pier. They say that the funds should be receipted into the general fund. Once there, council can appropriate it for restoration projects, but it can't go I can't receipt it directly into Fund 807. I have to put it into general first, and then you guys can.
Again, thank God for
appropriate it.
bureaucracies. They really look out for everybody. Good
Could
Lord.
Could I make a motion then that we, accept the money and put it in the general fund? And once the money is in the general fund?
There'll have to be a new agenda item made then,
okay,
Ralph.
Okay.
We got a motion by Mr. Miller,
Second.
receipted into the general fund, second by Mr. Foreman. Questions or discussion? Thank God the SBOA is saving all of us. Roll call vote?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Nemar.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 5 is Cedar Lake Summerfest Daily Grounds Use Fee and Fireworks Permit Fee Waivers Request.
Mr. President, it's my understanding that this is the standard operating procedure for us. The town gets recognized for a sponsorship in exchange for, granting this waiver for the, ground use and fireworks permit fees.
Thank you. Is there a motion by the council and request for daily grounds use fee waiver and fireworks permit fee waiver?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. Is anyone, Mary Joan, you're here on behalf of the, Cedar Lake Summerfest? Are the fees for parking gonna remain the same, or are they being increased? From what to what? Okay. Is there any other fees that are going up? Okay. Chiefs, are we being compensated for the police officers that are working that weekend, or is that always just overtime and hit the budget?
It's always overtime. They've donated I think you donated a laptop to the bridge one year.
Within the contract, which you already approved.
Yeah, I know that. I just think that we have to, as it grows this year, you know, the folks are coming out of the woodwork to get outside and go to these events.
It's gonna be huge this year.
It's gonna be massive,
Yeah,
so.
it's gonna be awesome.
2 years ago, they spent $13,000 on building a whole new electrical box there next to the VIT.
I remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that, at least I've seen, done by the Summerfest committee that really improves this grounds, and I think there's been plenty of contribution made, so I'm totally in support of what they do there, but, we have motion and second. Any questions or discussion?
Those are my only questions for the fees coming into the park.
And it's about time you guys raised those fees too. I'm glad to see you did
4
it.
years, second time we raised it.
Yeah, so, well beyond time, so. Questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp? Randy Nemar.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 6 is ratification of Hanover Middle School PUD contract. Mr. Everly, then Mr. Austin.
Mr. President, this is the, item that Mr. Austin was referring to earlier, that, we take action on this. He'd like to have one more chance to review it before, the final corrections are.
I simply suggested that, one last review before recordation of this instrument occur. You can certainly consider approval of it tonight, acceptance for signature. It's a large project.
And we will make sure we get those exhibits to Mr. Austin tomorrow.
Okay, and then we could sign it tonight,
You can.
Okay.
If
if it's approved.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to, approve the ratification of Hanover Middle School PUD contract contingent upon the exhibits, as Mr. Eberly said, being accurate and attached.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Carnahan. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 7 is Lindsway CY 2017-19 CDBG project change order. Mr. Eberly.
Mr. President, that is, there was a slight, change order of about, I think it's $1,500, let me get to that. This was a project where we have $76,000 and change from CDBG money to pay for these, sites and the curb cuts, and ramps. And the project came in actually at, $79,981.30. So the change order is $2,088.30. We'll have to make up the difference between the CDBG money we have and this, final contract price. Talked to Tim Brown about it this afternoon, and he indicated that we should send the entire invoice to him, and they will approve it for the amount that we have coming to us, the $76,000 and change, and they'll send it back to us, and then we will pay that balance of $3,000 some odd dollars. Jen and I looked into, where we pay that from today, and Jen, we thought that would be from LRS.
Yeah, local
line
road and
item
streets.
228 or something like that. That it's the emulsification.
Well, yeah, what we'll need to do is a transfer resolution, move a little bit of money out of emulsion into a contractual services line item.
Right. And Jen checked on that. Last year, we didn't use really anything out of emulsion, so that's why we thought that would be the proper line item to take it out of. So there'll be a small balance that we'll have to pay once county takes care of the CDBG portion.
Okay.
And we got it done on time. We beat the, I think we had to have it done by some date in mid-June, and we got that done.
Tim, we got plenty of emotion to be doing crack sealing and everything.
There's 25,000.
Bob likes crack seal.
Oh, I sure do, I don't.
It's amazing.
We have
10 years or more.
that maintenance instead of road, resurfacing.
Thank you.
If there's a better place to get that from, Mr. President, we can certainly look for it. In the meantime, we don't expect to get that back from county for a month or so anyway. The other thought I had was potentially from the infrastructure money. Tim, what is that, that's not Rose Garden, what is that, is it Rose Garden we got that infrastructure money from? Yeah, that's another possibility, but, in any case, we'll have a small balance to pay.
Okay, we have a recommendation from the town manager, to approve the change order, and a recommendation from the clerk treasurer on where we may pay for this change order from. Is there a motion by the council to approve item 7, Lindsway CY 2017-19 CDBG project change order?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 8 is Lindsway CY 2017-19 CDBG project final pay app. Mr. Eberly.
And that's just authorizing that payment for this project that you just approved the change order for.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 9 is contribution of $1,000 to CLHA from the town promotion line item to support the historical steamboat limited feature event Steam Through History.
Did we get that money now? I
No,
thought we
this
were waiting
is
on it.
town promotion
Oh,
budgeted
okay.
line item. This is not the
Oh, okay.
South Shore
Tourism.
Convention tourism dollars.
So moved. A motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera, questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neiman?
Yes, motion carries 6-0, so that takes you to 3,000 out of the 5,000, right? So any of the philanthropists that may be listening or watching this meeting, 2,000 more dollars, and this baby is happening, they got it insured, and it's gonna be a lot of fun this summer. When's that happening again? What's the dates again, Julie? July 26th through the 30th, so we have a few more weeks to get the dollars together so they can pay their insurance company for that excess liability.
Julia, are people stopping in at the museum on the night of these, farmers markets? Yes. Awesome. Very cool. It's all coming together. It's awesome, awesome, awesome.
All right, thank you. Item 10 is Cedar Lake Eastside Water Lighthouse Restaurant Property Transaction. Mr. Austin.
I'm pleased to report to you all tonight the negotiated settlement of the eminent domain lawsuit proceeding with the Lighthouse Restaurant property owners for the 1+ acre parcel upon which is contained a well and well house equipment at Moore Street at the top of the hill here. As you know, and as you directed, the property was the subject of an acquisition request. Appraisals were obtained, offer was made, offer was rejected initially, litigation ensued. In the course of the litigation, rather than litigate, we negotiated, have been in active negotiations since September last year. The net and summarized terms of this settlement are as follows. One, that the Lighthouse Restaurant entity, I call it that because I always have, is Paradise Cove LLC, and it's
Entertainment.
White Lodging Services, Lighthouse Restaurant. That entity will convey to the town the 1+ acre parcel on which all that equipment and well supply is located. In return, the town will convey its lot number 3 next to the lake. Here, subject to the retention of an easement for access to the lake from that property. The purchase price from the town to Lighthouse is $327,825, less the $70,000 appraised value dollars for lot 3. The net is $257,825. The town will issue a zoning compliance letter to the Lighthouse Restaurant entity that all of the parcels that they retain are in compliance with current zoning laws. The termination of charge for inactive sewer taps will commence immediately. They'll be removed. There are 9 of them, I think. They will be removed. The annual maintenance bond will be terminated. Inadequate water supply will be retained for the Lighthouse Restaurant property, including the restaurant. All interest town has in lot 3 will be conveyed. A perpetual access agreement will be, an easement will be maintained. Lift station number 5 will be constructed and completed, which I understand Tim can report on, and the lawsuit will be dismissed.
Actually, it looks like there's 17 inactive sewer taps.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the exact number, 17. Is, whatever the numbers are contained within the body of the document.
And our goal is to get this water towards the Robin's Nest, correct?
This was the linchpin in our water development here on the east side as a supply to go with the Robin's Nest well to fill the tower that will be constructed, near the Crystal Oaks neighborhood. So without this, we wouldn't have had the adequate supply, or we would have had to go locate it somewhere, which could have cost, depending on where you locate it, in the range between $600,000 and $1 million based on historical data. So, the town managed to get a very productive well with very good water, to be able to loop into our new east side water system, and, it should supply us for a long time.
Mr. President, this will also trip the dominoes that will start falling related to the construction of infrastructure on the east side for that well supply and pressure, for the financing of same to be undertaken and completed, for the rates that you petitioned IURC for, both system development charge rates as well as operating rates or usage rates will begin, and it will permit the development matters and development activities on the east side of Cedar Lake to be protected and preserved going forward with adequate well supply.
Yeah, this has been a long time in the making. I think we started these discussions back in 2014 with how do we beef up east side water supply in a utility that was vastly underserved. So here we go. This is the opportunity. This is a big night, and
It is a big
it's a
night.
great value.
It's really phase one of multiple phases as we loop the east side with the west, perhaps south of town. So
We've seen the
this
west
is good.
side take off with inadequate water utility. I won't say it's the end game.
You
right,
drink
but-
it.
But the west side, well, it's adequate, but there does need to be
Right.
growth there as well. But the east side is lagged behind, partially because of the lack of municipal water. But
Correct.
with this acquisition, if the council approves it, this opens up the door to the east side to realize its potential as well. So this is a big move, and hopefully the council supports it.
And once it's completed, then Schilling will be able to complete 146 more homes than the 200 homes that have been approved by the town.
Not just that, but every,
Yeah.
like
Better
for the-
fire hydrant
Yeah, so the,
power once we get to water tower, Bob. It's all it's dominoes. It's all interconnected. So it's
Sustainability.
infrastructure 101.
Sustainability.
Infrastructure 101.
Yep.
Well, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Cedar Lake Eastside Water restaurant property transaction, and I'd like my motion to approve having you as the president be able to sign, as well as the clerk treasurer, to use funds from maybe sewer water or whatever she sees appropriate to get this off the ground and going. So that's my motion.
And for her to attest.
And for her to attest. I'll say that too, Bob.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Comment, the negotiations, Rick and I had attended a meeting with, the folks from White Lodging, and, they were very good negotiating partners. They didn't haggle us at all. What the town put out there in appraisals and offers, wasn't haggled. The only things that we went back and forth on were some of those details surrounding sewer taps and some of the other parcels that they own. That was pretty easy. The negotiation was clean, and they were very good partners, so it was appreciated that there was good arm's length business done with people who were interested in getting the job done and seeing the community grow. So
They must see how many steaks you buy a year over there, Randy. That's
I
the
don't
only thing
buy
I
many.
can figure.
I go over there and drink water.
No, it's gonna be good for infrastructure for the east side. This was a monumental task. Mr. Austin, Rick Eberly, Randy, thank you for keeping the ball in play and moving it down the field. That was very monumental for the community.
Item 11 is appointment of new member of Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Foreman, do you have someone?
Yes, I spoke to a gentleman who's filled out applications the last couple of years for various boards and commissions, and we've often overlooked him. he would be interested in doing it. His name is Ray Jackson. He's a lifelong resident, for the most part, of Cedar Lake. I think he lived in Sherrville for a short time. His mother and father had businesses here years ago, but he said he would be willing to fill the position.
Okay. Ray Jackson, obviously we'll have to have him come in and fill in an updated application.
Yeah, he will do that.
And make sure he has proof of residency and those things, and then be sworn in by the clerk treasurer. When's the next meeting of the BZA?
Week from this Thursday.
Perfect. So, that's,
So
is there a motion to nominate Ray Jackson?
I'd make the motion to nominate Ray Jackson contingent upon his residency and filling out the application.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Are there any other nominations? By the council, any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Is there a motion to approve? We already got the motion. Is there a roll call vote on Ray Jackson?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes?
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Well, welcome aboard to Mr. Jackson.
There you go.
Yes, thanks, John. Fine,
Yeah,
Jim.
absolutely.
Town council reports.
Cedar Lake Chamber will be having a kids fishing derby this Saturday from 8:30 to noon. And, the first 100 kids that show up will get a free cane pole.
Awesome.
And, Corky's is donating free hot dogs, and there'll be lemonade and, chips, and, number of residents will be baiting the hooks for the kids, and a good time.
Wrap up.
I have something,
Right.
I just wanna address, and I probably should just leave it alone, but there's a rumor that, the town council has asked the YMCA in favor of subdivisions at South Shore. I just wanna say, it never came before the town council. Personally, I'll speak for myself, I thought the YMCA was a great idea. Whether they pulled out because of public opinion or not, that's for the YMCA to let us know. But the town council did not act any plans for the YMCA.
That is correct, Julie. They brought some engineering plans, I think, to a work session. And between the work session and the next meeting that we would have most likely voted on it at the plan commission, they pulled their petition. So they're 100% right. It never even made it to the final vote at the plan commission, thus it couldn't have come to us.
Right, and the owners of the golf course, again, they have a right to sell their land to anyone, and good for them that they were able to sell it, because, this is America, and you can sell your land to whoever you wanna sell it to, so I think that's important to remember. Again, we did not act any plans for the YMCA.
And when the YMCA came to a council meeting to present the original concept, while wasn't unanimous support on the council, there was mostly supportive comments made about that development. So, I believe that most council members would have liked to have seen that come to fruition, but for whatever reasons it didn't. And, as Julie said, a private property owner has the ability in this country to sell to another interested party, and that interested party in a free country can then build within the confines of the law of the community or the county or the state that they live in. So, those are all things that are part of living in a free society and a capitalistic marketplace.
You bet.
I have a kind of a comment question, talking about, kind of segues off of what Julie was talking about the golf course. If you drive down Moore Street, south of the golf course, you notice that the weeds are very high. If you drive down 145th towards the old South Shore Clubhouse, it's mowed along the frontage. And then that brings to question some other parcels around town that are owned by developers or potential developers that do not get maintained. Some of them grow weeds 3, 4, 5 feet tall. When we consistently write tickets to residents for violations, it seems that there might be a different set of rules being applied for some of these development parcels, and that concern's been raised to me by several people, because I see you shaking your head, Chief, but you can see that nothing gets done with these
We
development
probably
parcels.
wrote 50 or 60 tickets in Lindsway alone when they were developing that property.
That was a long time ago, I'm talking about today. There's,
So which developments are?
well, you got the golf course that's
Right.
becoming riddled with very tall weeds. You have the old Brunt Farm, Salesians. Those just to name a few that need to be looked at from a maintenance standpoint to at least meet some minimum standards, because
Okay.
those are areas that can definitely be mosquitoes and everything else, so.
The Brunt Farm, I know that the town has mowed it back for several years now, when they come by and they mow it back, into the field, there's no, I know the ordinance requires that it's cut down if it's within 100 feet, I believe it is, or 150 feet of a residence.
Okay.
So there's areas that will have to, check on.
Mhm.
That came to light on 129th Avenue, where there was an empty lot, just down from the Nagy property, that someone never developed, and the neighbor complained about it. We looked into it, I personally looked into it, found out that if it's within 100 feet of a developed property, it has to be maintained. So we'll have to look at that on
Okay.
137 to make sure that that's, there. As far as the golf course is concerned, I believe that was under something different because it was a golf course, but.
So you're saying maybe fairway
We're willing to
number
write
3?
tickets to it. I have no problem with that.
It's not about writing tickets, it's about like seeing these things, make sure that they're just at least maintained to a certain standard.
So
I
Bill, you're saying perhaps
don't care about tickets.
along Morris, hole number, fairway 2, fairway 3,
Number 2 and 3.
if they were mowed, that would probably meet the,
Yeah, because if the property itself or the unmowed area is greater than 150 feet from a residential area, a
Right.
residential home, then it's not required, the 9 inches is not required.
same with number 10.
Right.
Okay.
So how, that can just grow as, into a jungle at that
Be
point?
like the woods. It's not, it doesn't have to be that maintenance.
Yeah,
As far
it'd
as-
almost be
as
like,
far
take a
as
monastery, you know? They keep that mowed up front, however, the woods is the woods.
Right, but,
So that makes sense,
but
it's
these,
150 feet off
these
the
open
road.
development parcels aren't
Yeah.
woods though, they're
But if-
parcels bought for
But if they
development.
mow next to residents, the 150 foot, that
And I didn't know the golf course
suffice.
was in development yet, so I thought it was still owned by the golf course, and I thought they were maintaining some of it. Yeah, I know he was doing 140, he had some people doing it for him.
Yeah,
but
I don't even know if it's closed, I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been
Legitimacy.
closed yet, but I'm just saying that those are parcels that, obviously it's not a golf course anymore, and it's not just gonna sit there, it will be developed at some point, and my question was, when developers buy these properties, what is the standard, and you answered
Yeah,
that.
so we go in there, we tell them, you know, when they start, developing a property and then the weeds start going up. We had this big problem in Lindsway when it first was.
I remember.
Because it stopped really fast. They had a really big, boom and building, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And all of these properties were purchased by builders but never maintained them. We wrote tickets to them on a consistent basis until they went in there with bush hogs and knocked them down, so.
Well, it really wasn't until the Schilling Group took over that development that you saw that stuff all get corrected.
And that very well could have been.
Yeah.
I just know that they were knocking it down, but we were having the right citations for it all the time, so.
Once you knock it down, it dries out, and it's a fire hazard. So we need to keep up with it.
Well, I appreciate the answer on that, that helps me to answer questions for citizens that ask these questions, so I understand it better now.
Send them my way, I will take care of it.
Appreciate it, Chief, thank you. Any other council reports? Town Attorney,
No report.
Clerk Treasurer,
No report.
Town Manager.
No report.
Question real quick, Rick, when was our committee meeting to discuss the town hall building?
10, 2 o'clock.
The 10th at 2 o'clock. I want to make sure I got that on my calendar, because I've been so all over the place that, yikes.
Why don't I just get that,
Very.
yeah, that first, meeting.
I think we're all anxious for that. June 10th, 2 o'clock. Yep, I've got it on the calendar. Thank you. Director of Operations.
I'd have to ask you, I am getting bombarded from Bristol Oak. I got a call from them tonight again. When are we gonna do something with that, park? Because, the base of it is, when it rains, it's nothing but mud.
We've been trying for the last 2 weeks to get approved playground mulch, and the last 2 playground
supply chain
Together
issue.
Surrounding communities to see what they use.
They were working on it, Dale and Tom both, they had a few places they've been trying for the last 2 weeks to get something lined up, so I don't know where they sit with it now, but I know they've been working.
Okay.
The last people that did do it, we can't get it from anymore. We have plenty of mulch, but it's not certified to use for the program. So
It's a racket.
hopefully, yeah, I don't know.
Those
what-
Susie
looks
can't
like
follow,
mulch to
Jimmy.
me, but it is certified mulch, so hopefully this week we'll have something.
All right, I'll tell them that we hope to have it done in the next week or two.
Yeah. We'll have
All right.
Police Department, Chief Fisher.
No report, sir.
Thank you. Chief Wilkening, Fire Department.
I got one thing about the water system on the east side. Fire hydrants make me very excited. And I'm so glad it's time to see the water. I get excited about fire hydrants like Johnny gets excited about motor.
That was fantastic.
I'm so glad that kind of thing is gonna be unbelievable. And you're right, the development will come after the ISO rating should go down for folks closer to the water system, so it will help the taxpayers as well, so, very exciting.
I think you told me once before that we have 24, fire hydrants out at the school,
Yeah,
and now with the addition, will we end up putting more out there?
no,
No, okay.
well, closer to the addition there will be, but not that many more.
And again, that school put those fire hydrants in, when Chief told them then that they didn't need them so close together, but they didn't wanna go to the engineering firm at the time, so us taxpayers paid for all those fire hydrants that will never be accessed, all the way up that driveway. It was kind of
I
ridiculous.
informed the school board at the time that they needed to go for a variance. Because the, ordinance that's considered like an industrial area, so they have to be 500 feet apart. If it could have been 1,000 feet apart, they would have had to have came to the council for. They went ahead with the bill on it.
Waste of money.
Anything else, Chief?
Every time I used to go there, I would laugh.
Written
To
communication?
nowhere.
Any written communication? Okay, we go to open public comment. Any public comment? Any public comment? Nick, I saw something was on your mind. Name and address, please, for the record.
I live in 7,000 West, 127 Place, Common A.
What's your name?
Nick,
Nick?
yeah, Nick Rowley.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I just wanna say thank you for the fire chief, and, the police coming. I just wanna say thank you for your service, you know. My dad's got COPD, real bad, stage 4. Basically, well, we had a call, we have medics a few times already. Fire chief was there. I have been helping them out with the ambulance and whatever we need help with, you know, helping my dad outside any time of the day. But, I just wanna say thanks for the police and fire and coming and EMT, you know, the paramedics and all that, you know. I just wanna thank the Bob Conahan and everybody else on the town meetings, you know. I'm gonna just say you guys did a wonderful job on the town. I will get a blueprint, I don't work at a community, but I work at a, right next to YMCA, right near White Charles Street from the high school. I work in that area, I work in Crown Point.
St. Matthias.
St. Matthias, church, St. Matthias, food pantry, yeah.
You're a good man, Nick. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Hope your dad feels better.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other public comment? Public comment is closed. Our next council meeting will be Tuesday, June 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. That will be preceded at 6:30 p.m. by a utility board meeting. This meeting's adjourned.